Giannis Antetokounmpo is an MVP of the league, and more than likely about to be a two-time MVP of the league. As the NBA restarts, many expect him to go and lead the Milwaukee Bucks to a championship, barring injuries or COVID, which goes to show you the faith that many have in him right now. But let us ask you a question. How much do you honestly know about him? It might be less than you think. Let us show you 10 untold truths about Giannis Antetokounmpo. Number 10. First love. When you hear that phrase, you more than likely dive into the wonder of whom Giannis Antetokounmpo first had feelings for. But in this case, we're actually talking about his sports loves. Because while everyone knows him as the Greek freak of basketball, that was not the sport he wanted to play at first. Rather, that would be soccer. He fell in love with that game first and definitely wanted to play it before moving to basketball. In fact, you can still see him juggling a soccer ball here today. There are even a few YouTube videos about it. Had he stuck with it and become a professional soccer player, he would be tied with Danish goalkeeper Simon Bloch Jorgensen, also 6'11", for the title of the world's tallest professional footballer, which would have been an interesting title to have, no doubt. Though, if you couldn't tell, he's not close to the tallest person to ever play in the NBA. He makes it work.
What is your goal for your career?
I want to be an NBA player.
Number 9. Tough start. When Giannis came into the league, his expectations were far from what you would think given his talent now, and that was for a very good reason. His rookie year was terrible overall, averaging just 7 points per game, a far cry from the sometimes dozens of points he scores now. Sure, he made All-Star Rookie's second team, but that's honestly not that big of a deal when you think about it. Giannis knew that he had to improve, so not only did he go and get some trainers to help him out, he got them to bulk him up. So much so that by his 4th year in the league, he had gained a whopping 51 pounds of muscle, which obviously helped improve his game as well. Fast forward to his 7th season. Giannis went from 7 points per game to 30 points per game, as well as getting 14 rebounds per game and 7 assists per game. Giannis became one of the most dominant players in all of the NBA. This was when he really became the Greek freak, and everyone started to learn to say his name because they had to say it a lot. He's still growing in his craft, and he knows that, and this current lockdown situation tested him in new ways. But he's always trying to get better because he wants to be the best and get that championship, which is all the more reason to admire him.
But it's just hard work that paid off. If you believe in yourself, you believe in your dreams and work hard, things like this can happen.
Number 8. First Bucks MVP since Kareem. Comparing Giannis to legends is something that was inevitable, but this entry is about his MVP trophy that he got for the previous NBA season. He is the first Milwaukee Bucks player to get the MVP since the legendary Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Most people forget that Kareem was with the Bucks before he became a Laker, and he got the MVP as a Buck. Not just that, he got the Bucks an NBA title as well. Which brings us back to Giannis, because now he has the ability to surpass Kareem in the MVP title department as a Buck, and could also get an NBA to the franchise for the first time in decades, which, obviously, a lot of people want, especially Giannis. Number 7. Nike. In the NBA, shoe deals aren't just major things. They're major money makers for the players, and deals with Nike, Converse, Adidas, and more have been happening for a long time now. And virtually every NBA legend has had his own shoe deal to promote the brand. What might surprise you though is that it took a while for Giannis to get his own shoe deal, for the reasons we've mentioned before. But when it finally did get done, it was rather impactful, mainly because he was the first international player ever to go and sign with Nike. Think about that for a moment. There have been plenty of good international players over the years. Dirk Nowitzki, Manu Ginobili, the Gasol brothers, Luka Doncic, and more. And yet, none signed with Nike. Until Giannis, and there was serious competition for him apparently. There were other offers of course, and they tried to sweeten the deal with various things, but neither offers were as enticing as Nike's long-term partnership, which obviously both sides benefited from because Nike now has another major player in the NBA repping their brand, and given the popularity of Giannis, they're raking in money, no doubt.
Never ever thought we'll have my own signature shoe, but at the end of the day, if you work hard and you really believe in yourself and you believe in your dreams, stuff like this can happen.
Number 6. Security. What happens to a player if they aren't able to really cut it in the league that they love? Will they be able to do something else? It's a question that honestly doesn't get asked of a lot of people after they leave the NBA, NFL, MLB, etc. But most players do try and have a backup plan just in case things go south in a hurry. or rather unexpectedly, which obviously brings us to what was Giannis' backup plan. It wasn't any kind of sport, we can tell you that. He was instead going to be a security guard. We're being totally serious about this here. He noted that his backup play was to be a security guard because he was so tall that no one would really want to mess with him. Looking at this objectively, that's very true. Plus, should he not feel intimidating enough, he would have followed the same path he took in the NBA, where he would bulk up to become a freak and then just intimidate people into submission. Thankfully for all involved, Giannis is happy, healthy, and thriving in the NBA. So much so that he's made so many millions that even if the worst should happen tomorrow, he'll be set for life, which no doubt is a weight off his mind. Number 5. The Spanish Inquisition. While Giannis may be known as the Greek Freak, a lot of people don't really know what he did over in Europe in terms of his playing time. Only days after turning 18, Giannis signed a 4-year deal with a Spanish basketball organization called CAI Zaragoza that included an NBA buyout after every season, which obviously of just 22 at the end of the contract. But compared to what he's making now in the United States, it's not even close, especially considering the Nike deal we outlined earlier. It also begs the question of basketball usually flee to Europe to get more money than the WNBA, which is a crime in and of itself. Number 4. How do you say your name? Giannis Antetokounmpo is a mouthful to say. Let's be honest here. So it wasn't too shocking to see and/or hear that many people couldn't say his name when he arrived. Sure, Giannis is rather simple, but his last name isn't at all. What you might not know is that he has another hard-to-say part of his name. Giannis and his brothers were given 2 first names by their mother, one Greek and one Nigerian, to pay respect to the family heritage. Giannis's other name, if you're curious, is Uko. But then the question is, why haven't we heard him called this before? Why would they risk saying another hard-to-say name when they could barely say Giannis Antetokounmpo in the first place? It's the KISS principle. Keep it simple, stupid. Number 3. Setting records. While Giannis may not have started off his career in the best of ways, as he grew up in the league, he started to advance his game in serious ways, including establishing several records. He is the youngest Buck in team history to record a triple-double and start in an NBA All-Star game. Also, he was the first Milwaukee Buck to start in an All-Star game since Ray Allen in 2001, who, by the way, is also a future Hall of Famer, much like Giannis is shaping up to be. In addition, Giannis became the 5th player in NBA history to lead his team in every major stat category: points, rebounds, steals, and blocks. If you're curious about the other 4 names, you might have heard of guys like Dave Cowens, Scottie Pippen, Kevin Garnett, and LeBron James. Number 2. He has served. Nations outside the US have certain laws that many might find surprising, or even shocking compared to what we have here in the United States. For Greece, the people of the nation sometimes have mandatory military service that they have to complete at a certain age. This included Giannis. What's more, this happened when he was in the league. Thankfully for both him and his brother, he didn't have to serve that long in the Greek military, mainly because at that point in time they were overseas residents, and thus they only had to serve 3 months. Still, there are pictures of him with the uniform, proving he did indeed do it. Number 1. Paying it forward to his family. Giannis proved when he was young that he loved his family in many ways, not the least of which was when they moved to Greece. Both Giannis and his brother worked a lot on the streets in order to help their parents with money. They sold watches, bags, sunglasses, and other items to help their family get by. And now, Giannis uses his NBA money to make sure that his family wants for nothing. So he's a good man even outside of his basketball skills. So, what do you think? What do you think about this look at Giannis Antetokounmpo and his life in which you might not have known a lot about? Can you believe the journey that he has been on in order to get to the top of the NBA like he is now? Do you think that he will be the one lifting the finals trophy by the end of the playoffs? Let us know in the comments section below. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next time on the channel.